Greetings, Exiles. Welcome to the stream. This is Bullshifter, back again with another Path of Exile stream. Hopefully everyone's having a great week so far. It is Wednesday, almost through the week. Hopefully everyone has been having a good time so far this week. So tonight I thought I'd do something a little different than what we do on most of the streams. Most streams I seem to either kind of run maps or we end up doing a little bit of delving. So I thought we'd go ahead and kind of start this stream off with a little bit of the menagerie. I don't do a whole lot of menagerie, to be honest, so I thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do, just to kind of change things up a little bit. And yeah, hopefully we have a little bit of fun. Hopefully we create some solid items tonight. And yeah, hopefully this ends up being pretty worthwhile for us, so we'll see how this goes. Just putting some finishing touches on getting everything set up here. Let's see, do I have... It looks like we're up and running. Let's go ahead. And we'll start off with a couple of easy ones. So we'll do a stack of 4 Jeweler's Orbs. I'm level 49. This will be fast and easy, but yeah, at least we'll get some crafting currency out of it. No point in not doing it. And just like that. So we must actually have enough to do a few of those, so let's go ahead and get some fusing orbs here. Simple enough, so we must have only had one for that. Not quite sure. So we can create a unique flask. That could potentially be a solid item. Otherwise, essentially, I mean, all of these under this category are going to give us a unique item, so it could potentially be something good here. Let's go ahead and create... I don't want to do a helmet. Let's start with a flask. There we go. Why is it Oak Bismuth Flask? Not a bad one. Not fantastic, but not bad either. So we might just work our way down the line. I want to see... So a helmet at least is level 70. And I don't believe we actually have any sort of like unique for my helmet right now. So hopefully we can get something good there. My helmet is rather good, but... I don't think many of these will pose much of a threat, although it seems like whenever I say that, 5 seconds later, we end up getting hit hard. Yeah, Darkness Little Man, he went to sleep early tonight, so I actually got to pop on a little earlier than usual. Fire damage can shock when I ignite. So the elemental resistances on that helmet are nice, but it's a bad hit. Body armor, we're probably not going to get anything we can really use. We'll skip on along to the boots. So obviously we're not going to be able to run the menagerie for too long, and this is why I don't typically do a lot of menagerie. It runs pretty fast, and before you know it, there's not really a whole lot left for you to do. But it could potentially be a good spot to get some decent unique items, if you're lucky. I don't know if we'll really get anything usable for this class, but that would be a fun little change of pace. Yeah, all some pretty common uniques. So we won't get a body armor that we can use, but we can run it real fast. Oh. I was wondering where the enemy was. You're right, I don't have anything activated. That's because the last thing I actually did was my big shaper fail. Huh. That's interesting. That's actually a cool little chess piece. Let's see. Oh, 75 for the sword. 79 for the wand. Stack of 10 random currency. Let's do this. Maybe get lucky. After this, I think we'll just go ahead and run our highest level one just to see if we can get a little bit of a challenge going. Yeah, Orb of Augmentation. Nothing too special there. So these, I've actually done a video on these. This is just how to modify your flasks. I'm not really interested in adding a suffix and removing a random prefix. I'm not going to create an imprint right now, though this is a solid recipe to have. Really good for crafting. So I think the wand, yeah, that was actually our highest item level challenge. So let's see if we can fight something that actually poses a bit of a challenge here. I had to pop flasks. So, you know, nothing too outlandish, but still something a little different than usual. So, we'll go back to the hideout, store away that stuff. I usually keep my uniques, just in case I do roll the prophecy to trade in 5 uniques for a random unique. Plus, I'm kind of a completionist, so I like to see how many different ones I can collect. Which looks like less than half of my uniques there were actually new ones. I'm actually running out of space in that other storage tab, so just toss all these in here. And I'm not sure how much sulfite we have. But we can go down the delve and take a look. Otherwise, I don't really feel like running a lab. Just at the menagerie. So yeah, we can go to the mine encampment. Otherwise, we can just kind of run some maps and run into Master's Quest there. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to run some Master Quests just because for those of you who checked out my video pertaining to the next league, all this stuff is going to be completely different. Well, the actual function and running the actual Master's Quests won't be different, but the way you get them will be a bit different. Because when you find them in maps, it'll actually add to kind of a pool where you can actually go back to your hideout, talk to the different masters that have the different content, and kind of choose when you run it. So I think that'll be a lot of fun, especially for our streams, because we can, you know, have a stream where we do, you know, nothing but missions for Einhar, or, you know, we do nothing but incursions, or we do nothing but syndicate missions. I think syndicate missions would probably be the most fun. So we have a decent amount of sulfate, so we can actually go ahead and do a little bit of delving and hopefully find something decent at the outposts. I've got a little bit of azurite, so we might as well fill up our dynamite, our flares. We've got them equipped. Let's rock and roll. So we'll have to move upward a little bit. Try to never found the wall to break for those, but That's fine. We'll run this real quick and we'll try to get to some of these decent rewards in there and hopefully get something good. I have to double check too. I think I'm in Sand Stance and I definitely want to be in Blood Stance. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff for the next league. Admittedly, I will probably be running a lot of Borderlands 3 content here in the next month once that launches. We're actually less than a month away. We're like 3 weeks away from Borderlands 3, which I'm pretty excited for. It seems like a lot of people who check out the channel are excited for that too, so we'll be doing some Borderlands and some Path of Exile. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We're just going to be looting like crazy. And I, before the league news dropped, I actually committed to trying to build, some type of ranger next league, and I'm going to stick with that. I like the sound of what they've done with necromancers and everything else, but I kind of went with what had been buffed this league, and I kind of want to do something different next league. I want to have a build that isn't being used by everyone. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, these Cyclone builds are strong, otherwise so many people wouldn't be using them, but just kind of want to break the mold next league. Try something a bit more out of the ordinary and, just something to have a little bit of fun with. Eventually, I just kind of altered a lot of things within my Cyclone build, and they kind of ended up looking like just about any other Cyclone build, which is fine. There were just a few skills that were kind of hard to ignore, especially Impale. Like the damage output numbers on Impale were just too good to not take those nodes. I was trying to steer away from it at first just because I kind of saw everyone else doing it too, but when it comes to a game like this, if a lot of other people are doing it, there's usually a good reason behind it. Let's see, so get some Azurite. Let me get some of the fun stuff. But I'm definitely looking forward to the tower defense mechanics of next league. I think it's going to be a really cool addition to the game. It sounds like they're also going to be adding Legion to the regular content pool as well. So Legion shouldn't be going anywhere. It won't be as common, obviously, as it is now. You're not going to be running into monoliths on every single map and in every single area. But they'll still be there. I'm not sure if they're adding it to the base game like right at the beginning of the next league, but I know their plans are to add it to the core game and have it be a permanent fixture. So more content's never a bad thing, and it's kind of nice because hopefully we'll still be getting incubators to drop. I believe so. I don't think they're going to take anything out of the league, but the even nicer thing is all those shards that you've been collecting, if you didn't quite get to 100, you can keep those and still keep collecting them with your character playing through standard. I personally don't play much standard, to be honest, but I mean, it's nice to have the option. It's nice that the option's there, mainly because after you get a few leagues in, you end up having so much gear in standard that it can actually be kind of fun to go into it and just do like some large crafting sessions, which I think would make for a fun stream too, and it's something we'll probably do in the future. Once we're a few leagues in, and just have a ridiculous amount of crafting mats built up, just do like an all-night crafting stream in standard mode. We've done like some mini crafting sessions in Legion League, but it was nothing too intense, and we actually got some lucky rolls pretty early. All that Azurite, nom nom nom. believe anyone who pre-ordered Black Desert Online is probably actually playing the game right now. So I think anyone who pre-ordered actually got 2 days early access. I personally decided just to not pre-order, not purchase it for now. It's something I might come to at some point, but with Borderlands right around the corner, that's something I'm going to be investing a lot of time into. So between that and Path of Exile, I don't think I'd have the time to play Black Desert Online. It's really hard to kind of dedicate that time into an MMO. Although I have been giving a little bit of consideration into Vanilla WoW, just because I've never played Warcraft before. And it sounds like a lot of people are pretty excited for Vanilla WoW, and I think it sounds intriguing. I think that release is right around the corner also. Quit throwing stuff at me. Kind of to those depths where things start getting a little more interesting. It is nice to have this amount of range on Cyclone, though, or most stuff is dead before it could actually hit me. It's a lot of straight combat. I noticed that about the missions. A lot of them were go here, kill this many of this, and turn mission in, do the next mission, kind of do the same thing, rinse and repeat. I ended up enjoying the combat after I got a little more accustomed to it, but honestly, if I was going to play an MMO on PS4, I'd probably just stick to Elder Scrolls Online. But, I mean, Bethesda did a good job with Elder Scrolls Online, and it took them time to get there. It wasn't really, you know, a super successful game right out the gate. It took a lot of hard work, a lot of time, but eventually, you know, they polished it up and made a really solid, nice game out of it. I have a few of the DLC packs for it too that I just never ended up getting around to playing, even though I was really excited for them at the time. The biggest one being the Morrowind one. A lot of people love Oblivion and Skyrim, but for me, Morrowind is still a big personal favorite. It's been years since I've played it, so I don't remember a ton of it. I just remember really, really liking it when I did play it. Alright, so let's get out of here alive. And on to the next one. This navigation can be such a pain sometimes. Actually, don't know if I can even select that one down there, so never mind, doesn't matter anyways. Looks like I'd have to blow up a wall to get there. I have to come all the way through, that's why. We're not going to risk it. I know there's mounts in Black Desert, and I know I didn't have one at the time of streaming. I think that's one of the big pre-order incentives for Black Desert. And there's like different levels of mounts too. So I think if you ordered like it's like 80 or 90 bucks for the one edition, you get like a level 5 mount. I don't know. I think the game has potential. It's just, it's something I literally don't have the time for, just because I know how much of a time suck MMOs are. which isn't a bad thing. Like, you get value for the money you spend. But for me personally, it's not time I have to invest at the moment. Path of Exile and Borderlands 3 will more than keep me busy for probably the rest of the year. I'm still struggling to get through some of my backlog. I tend to get more games on my Switch now than my PS4, just because I can actually play them on the road and on my breaks at work and everything. And I'm struggling to get through some of those games. Like, I'm a few hours into Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I feel like I haven't accomplished anything in that game yet. I've only battled a couple times. It's just an insane amount of depth to that game and just a ridiculous amount of things to do. It's really great. Like, anyone who has a Switch, I would highly recommend that game. I was able to finally beat Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I've thought about making like a review video on the channel for that, just because I thought it was quite enjoyable. Some things I would have changed about the game, but for the most part I felt like they did a pretty good job in maintaining the spirit of the originals. And I know there's some free content right around the corner for that. And they obviously had a season pass also, so there'll be a lot more content coming for it as well. And I've kind of read the same thing. I did a bit of research on Black Desert Online, and it kind of seems like you either invest a ton of time or pay to win, which, again, not super uncommon for MMOs. Like, I get it. Except it's, you know, kind of like that video I made. If it's a game I paid for already, I don't really like feeling obligated to spend money unless it's, you know, I kind of like the old school model of DLC to where, you know, like back in the day of like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, where you'd buy a map pack and you get like 4 maps. And like that would be what you spent $15 on. Like that, I was fine with that. That was kind of cool. And I know they kind of did away with that with a lot of companies because they felt like it divided their player base. But I mean, when you have a big successful shooter and you've got millions of people playing, I don't feel like there's really that much separation of your player base. I don't know. For me, I miss the days of the classic DLC packs to where we paid for actual content. Just because I feel like that kind of guaranteed that developers were working on actual content instead of spending all their time on just cosmetic items, costumes, and effects, and just things that look cool, but they don't actually add to anything to the game. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Because, yeah, it's nice to potentially get any, like, add-ons, you know, different areas and items for free, but at the same time, you know, if we're not paying money for those things, it doesn't guarantee that those things are actually even going to be made. And I know a lot of other people say, you know, well, a lot of that money that you spend on cosmetics is meant to, you know, for game patches and stuff like that, to which I kind of counter, well, you know, you shouldn't have to patch your game all the time. If it's, you know, an online service game like Path of Exile or, you know, like a shooter that you're trying to balance constantly, like, I kind of get it. But at the same time, you should have a pretty solid base built to where you don't need to patch everything constantly. A nice little map collection there. Ooh. Those are all low level, but whatever. Still gold maps. We'll grab that. Why not? We're right there anyways. Contents unknown. Intriguing. Yeah, my mind's been on DLC a lot lately because, I mean, I'm willing to bet that Borderlands 3 kind of sticks with their model. I mean, Gearbox has kind of always done that with Borderlands, to where the stuff you pay for in the season pass is, you know, usually additional story areas. Which is awesome, because a lot of those story areas are even better than the base game a lot of the time. Like the Tiny Tina's DLC in Borderlands 2 is fantastic. The Zed zombie content for the first Borderlands, amazing. Like a lot of really good stuff, and it's not stuff we would have had with the base game. And that's just kind of the stuff I want, you know, developers working on. You know, fantastic additional content for games, as opposed to, you know, now I can wear the color blue instead of the color red. I mean, you're right. That's pretty much what all companies do now is, you know, they're put under all this pressure from the publishers to get their game out. And with the mentality of, you know, we'll fix it later. And it sucks. It's not good for anyone. It makes the developers look bad. It upsets the consumer. It's just not very friendly. Like, a great example of that is, yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about what No Man's Sky has been able to do lately with some of their patches, and how the game is closer to the product that was promised from the beginning now, obviously, than it was when it first launched. But it's like, you know, if there wouldn't have been the pressure on the developers to, you know, hurry up and release that game, that's what people would have gotten at launch. If they would have just, you know, delayed it for the amount of time that they had to delay it for, they'd have saved face. They'd have lost, you know, they wouldn't have had all this humiliation that came with the game coming out ridiculously incomplete. And I just don't think anyone wins in that situation. But I think gamers are getting smarter. A lot more of these companies are getting called out when things like that happen. And, you know, as long as people continue to do that and speak with their wallets, you know, things will have to change.
My spirit is spent.
You know, never underestimate the intelligence of your consumer. And yeah, I'll be honest, that's actually the reason why I back a lot of Nintendo games. Because, you know, Nintendo is usually behind the times a little bit, but sometimes it's actually a good thing. Yeah, they still have patches, obviously, like any other company does with their first party, you know, their big titles, but they're not nearly as often as what you're going to see on Xbox and PlayStation. Granted, you know, Nintendo's not making these giant, gorgeous games like, you know, God of War or Halo or anything like that, but, you know, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was a really ambitious game, and it functioned pretty well right out of the box. It worked. There's nothing, you know, crazy and game breaking that I ran into personally. Gearbox is a solid company. Like, they've got a good reputation for a good reason. They did release that steaming pile of, you know, Duke Nukem, but I don't even place the blame on Gearbox for that, to be honest with you. That game had been touched by so many developers, and I feel like the pressure was to just make it so it wasn't this myth anymore. So that's the, you know, they're one of the few companies I'll give a pass on. You can't hit a home run every time. Yeah, I actually didn't even play any of the second Destiny until they offered it all to us for free on PlayStation Plus. Because admittedly, I kind of had some sour grapes from them making a sequel. Just because I remember all the promises they made about the first Destiny and how it was going to be this huge game that they're going to support for like a decade, and we were just going to get constant content, constant updates, and like we could, feel good about investing into the game because it was basically going to be like an MMO but a shooter, and it sounded so amazing. And after a couple of years, we got Destiny 2, and it sucks. But you kind of have to expect those things when you're working with Activision. To Bungie's credit, they got away from Activision. I'm pretty sure they've separated entirely. So it'll be interesting to see what they have in the works. Yay, blue screen. Yay. Well, luckily I'm streaming from my video card tonight, so it didn't crash the stream. But yeah, it's kind of a shame. Like, all these big publishers buy up these smaller developers, and they kind of, they really just buy them for the name, and they kind of ruin their reputations. Even Grinding Gears, I believe they're largely owned by Tencent now. I think that's what I read. Like, Tencent, I think, owns like an 80% stake in Grinding Gears games now. And then Bungie was bought out by Activision. Blizzard is actually underneath Activision also. And there's been that huge, disconnect between Blizzard and their customer base recently, too. DICE used to make really great games before they were bought out by EA. It's sad, like, the biggest one, BioWare. I used to love BioWare's games. BioWare made some fantastic games. The first two Knights of the, well, the only two Knights of the Old Republic games. Great games, amazing games. The Mass Effect trilogy, the original one, started off really well. Like, I really liked the first one. The second one was probably the best one out of the trilogy. Third one was still pretty decent, but then it just continued to launch downhill. Hey, what's up, Legend? Yeah, I'm definitely going to stream some Borderlands 3 on launch day. Yeah, I'm going to try to keep as much Path of Exile content as I have now on the channel. But I can't ignore Borderlands 3. I'm just way too excited about that game, and I feel like a lot of people are really excited about that game. I feel like a lot of the things that are appealing about Path of Exile are also really appealing about Borderlands 3. I feel like there's a lot of game mechanics that kind of fit between the two of them. I feel like the player base is really similar. So that's why I'm hoping people on the channel don't mind seeing a lot of Borderlands 3 content, because it's definitely something I want to do. And I feel like it's something that's much easier to get people to jump in and out of, too. Obviously on Path of Exile we can run a couple of maps and people can jump in and out as they please from there, but a game like Borderlands, you can definitely drop in and drop out a bit easier. What's up, Soho? And my greetings right back to Brazil. Jealous, you live somewhere beautiful. Yeah, I honestly wish that was a bigger deal as a content creator, so Gearbox may be interested in giving me some early access. And that's what's exciting too, is the fact that they're adding a bunch of, you know, cool new stuff to Borderlands 3, because to be honest with you, they could have given me all the same exact mechanics as Borderlands 2 and just given me a new story. I'd have eaten it right up. You don't have to add much to my Borderlands experience, and I will still enjoy it. Yeah, I'm down with that. I normally try to play all the characters anyways, so... yeah, I'm totally up for letting the chat choose my character on day one. You can actually get yourself a few guns already in the game too through their VIP program. They've got like a website with a VIP program you can sign up for, and like you get points for like reading articles, watching like trailers on YouTube. They have like a couple of like a survey and stuff that you can do, and you can do like a random roll when you join the club too, and it gives you a random gun in it's Borderlands 2, Borderlands 2 the pre-sequel, or Borderlands 3. I'd be kind of surprised if they didn't bring back some stuff. With as many guns as, you know, Borderlands always advertises, you'd think they'd kind of have to bring back some of the iconic ones. Just because, I mean, if anything, it adds to that gun count. Oh, yeah, that's right, because I blue screened. I'm like, my cursor shouldn't be off. I didn't die. I remember, yeah, I blue screened. Which essentially counts as a death. Great. Ooh. Now that was a good divination card. I'll bring that up once we get to the next safe spot. Maybe at one of the upcoming streams we'll actually like, play some Borderlands 2 or some pre-sequel or something, just to kind of feed that hype train for Borderlands 3. I would actually have to start from scratch anyways, because when I played Borderlands, it was on the Xbox 360. So I don't have any of my character save info or any of that. So that divination card right here, you collect 7 of them, you get an exalted orb. Or you get 10 exalted orbs, my bad. Yeah, you typically get a death XP penalty for blue screening. Isn't that wonderful? Let's see, so just have to switch this up just to get everything going. There we go. Yeah, I actually did a video on the YouTube channel of my first impressions of, I think it's like the first 30 minutes of the Borderlands remake. Because I thought it'd be a fun little video to make at the time. It got a few views, and like, I enjoyed making it, so. That's a weird place to get an offering of the goddess. Probably, I'm running relatively low. We still have enough to move through a little bit here. Yeah, I have a great deal of admiration for anyone who actually manages to reach level 100 on Path of Exile right now on console, but I clearly won't be doing that either. I don't remember how we did it back in the day when the first game came out. And I'm assuming it's probably been patched since, but I remember there was a way to actually glitch into the final vault. I would speak more on that, but I don't want to spoil the ending of the first game. Let's just say you don't exactly enter the vault conventionally. It's not what you think it is. My favorite in the first game was Malachi, his name? The guy with the Bloodwing. It's been a while since I played, obviously back in the 360. But yeah, that was my main. God, I remember when the second one first came out and just like looking all over the internet to try and get shift keys. Like, I kind of feel bad that, you know, my main content obviously is Path of Exile, but, you know, admittedly, I am a bit more excited for Borderlands 3 than the new league. Not because I think the next league sounds bad. I think it actually sounds like a lot of fun. I'm just not overly optimistic that we're not going to have more performance issues than we have now, even. Because like I explained in the video for the next league, with all those effects that are going to be coming off of those towers, all the enemies that are going to be spawning in those tendrils, and the fact that Necromancer of all classes is getting a buff, we're going to be in performance hell on console if they don't fix it. You know, I'm hoping that they do, but I'm going to tell you, I think the odds of it are relatively low. I think there's going to be a lot of outraged players. Because as wonderful and amazing as this game is when it runs well, that's how frustrating it can be when it doesn't. And I'm just afraid that the next league is going to cause a lot of performance issues. Nah, Brick was cool. I mean, honestly, all of the original characters were cool. Obviously, you know, Lilith is the one who gets the most attention. But that's fine. I always like any callback that we get to the original Vault Hunters.
I believe in traveling light.
Oh, you don't believe in traveling light. That's a lie. Just like the cake, it's a lie. I don't need it. This bugs me too, that this always seems to happen in the delve. Like, I hit discard, and it doesn't actually discard. See, and now, like, I'm still holding this item. There we go. Now it let me drop it. I don't understand why. Now it worked fine. And you might be right, just because I know they've been working on the 4.0 patch for a very long time now. And like, in ways it would make sense, because it would be a huge selling point behind 4. 4.0 is, for those of you who don't know about kind of everything behind patch 4.0, it's essentially probably going to feel like a relaunch. They've talked about 4.0 basically being how they're going to compete with Diablo 4 when Diablo 4 comes out. So it'll be interesting to see when 4.0 actually comes out, because in theory, from the way that they've run the patches, you would think we're going to have this upcoming league, one more league, and then 4.0. But I'm not entirely positive they're even going to have it done in time at that point. I know that's what they've been focusing a lot of their energy and attention on, which is probably the reason why the forums are so quiet and why they don't really acknowledge a lot of the stuff on console. Which, I mean, in all reality, if 4.0 comes in well and performance is great and, you know, the game looks amazing and is running great, like, a lot of things will be forgiven and forgotten. But it just sucks to have to wait for that is all. Four point oh is when I actually predict that we'll get guilds on console. It's been on my wish list, but my assumption is we won't see it until 4.0.
I believe in traveling light.
Yeah, we'll go to the surface and come back. Need to go buy my stuff. Don't know why I grabbed that actually. I've got a lot of cartographer's chisels down there. I wasn't even paying attention, to be honest. Never a bad thing. Decent amount of maps too, but they're all low tier. It'd be nice if we did fire damage. increased mine damage. Mines are going to get a nice little buff next league too. Be kind of interesting to see to what extent. So here, I want to move all these uniques into their own storage slot. I never managed to sell that. There we go. Oh, no, it was this one. In all fairness, a lot of people haven't gotten a headhunter. It's like arguably the most broken item in the game right now anyways. Broken isn't overpowered. So I wouldn't even fret too much about that. There's a ton of people who haven't found a headhunter yet. I mean, you could just always get a mirror and then, you know, ask for 5 mirrors for your 1 mirror on the auction block. If I ever get a mirror, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it on stream too. I'm going to show everybody. I'm like, see? That doofus over there is asking for 5 mirrors for his mirror. That's me. I don't think I have enough sulfite to get anywhere else. Yeah, it's a little pricier down here. So get my mirror is worth 5 of your mirrors because my mirrors, it reflects more. So that's as far as we can get there. We can head back to the hideout. Probably just run a couple maps and call it a night. That's right. I forgot I picked up that 6 socket. There you go, Ironhar. Give you the hookup. Anyone who asks for something stupid for their mirror is literally just flaunting the fact that they have a mirror. Like, I get it. It's a super rare item. It's, you know, cool to show off. There's just things I see in the auction block that geek me out. That's something we could do on a stream too. That would actually, in my opinion, be a lot of fun. Just literally look through the auction block one night and see like some of the most ridiculously priced things there are on there. I think currency would be the most rewarding in regards to that, just because you'll see people asking for like an exalted for like 10 chaos orbs. Just like really stupid stuff like that. Let's go here since Alva's hanging out there. Yeah, I don't have the bonus, so we will alk it. Elemental equilibrium. Well, I do physical damage, so bring it on. Yeah, people in the trade market geek me out. Like, it used to like somewhat upset me, and now it's to the point where I have to laugh. Like, I've almost considered just doing solo self-found because the market's so bad. But I think the biggest reason I don't do solo self-found is because then, you know, we wouldn't be able to do our community play streams, which are a lot of fun. stacked decks for an Exalt. That's fantastic. You know what would be actually great though is if like someone actually bought that and the divination cards in there ended up being worth more than an Exalted Orb. The odds of that happening are astronomical, but I would laugh so hard. Yeah, they're not uncommon. I've had, like, I don't think I've had a triple drop for stacked decks, but I've definitely had plenty of doubles. Let's see, the tunnels. Okay, so you definitely need to link this to the entrance. Oh my god, there's nothing down here. No, none of you want to drop a Stone of Passage. Hate you guys so much. Just drop this down. I mean, granted, I am hitting them in a circle with a giant sword, so they probably shouldn't be doing me any favors anyways. I got plenty of time. I don't even need to rush this. But I'm gonna. Entrance. There we go. There we go. One more completed incursion. So soon I have to wait for the timer to go all the way down. Right, dude, if someone pulled 5 doctors, I would tell them to go buy a lottery ticket. Like, you are the luckiest person face the earth. Go get your 200 million or whatever the Powerball's at. Map complete? I think monoliths desync everyone quite a bit. That's a pretty common issue. So I was somewhat surprised to hear them adding Legion to the core game, but at the same time, I'm not all that surprised because it's, you know, PC players really enjoyed Legion. It's not that I didn't enjoy Legion. It was a good league outside of the performance issues. If it wasn't for the performance issues, Legion would have been an amazing league. But I'm worried that's what's going to happen next league too with Blight. We'll see. I mean, I'm hoping to be proved wrong. I have no issue with being wrong. If I'm wrong, it's good for, you know, everyone who plays the game. I need to get me some of that streamer luck. My streamer luck is the fact that my viewers are super nice and give me good items. That's where, like, the best pieces of my gear have come from. Yeah, it's and I was kind of hoping for some buffs to bow skills too, just because it's, you know, what I wanted to build this upcoming league. I mean, it's what I'm going to build, but I guess at the same time, it gives me a chance to be more creative with what I'm doing. It'll let me figure out something that's kind of mediocre and try and elevate it. No, it honestly is. Like, I was actually thinking about it the other day. Like, just how kind of lucky I was that, you know, the first Path of Exile video I made, like my beginner's tutorial video, like how fortunate I was that that video kind of took off the way it did, because, I mean, it's, you know, obviously it's not the only thing that built my channel, but it was a big part of it. You know, it was a video that I just kind of made as, you know, something I wanted to do, is like a little miniature passion project, and it took off, and like it helped, you know, build this channel. And like I've mentioned on streams before, like it's really cool that like I have, you know, I don't have like 1 million viewers like a lot of these other YouTube channels do, but I also don't have a bunch of toxic people coming and visiting my channel either. I've got a lot of really chill, mature, relaxed people who come in and are supportive, and you know, I would take that over having this gigantic channel where everyone just, you know, slings toxicity at each other. That's no fun at all. I wouldn't even want to do this if that's the way things were. Yeah, I haven't decided what I'm gonna use as my bow skill next league. I just gotta take some time and play around with path of building a little bit. But I definitely want to do something out of the ordinary. Actually pretty surprised I didn't see any major desync there. I always love finding syndicate items in the monoliths. Yeah, and I mean, I hope that the channel will, you know, grow a little bit when Borderlands 3 comes out. And I think the people who could, you know, come and join the community from Borderlands will also be, you know, some solid people. There's honestly a really good reason to why, you know, like, I play Apex Legends in my free time, and like I posted maybe 1 or 2 videos of that game, but there's a reason why I don't go out of my way to make videos on games like that, and it's just because, you know, it's not saying the whole community behind games like that is bad, but there's just a lot of crappy people who play those games. Just a lot of trolly, just toxic people that I don't want to deal with. Where I feel like games like Path of Exile or Borderlands, like Looters, seem to have more of a dedicated player base who are there for the game, not there to mess with people. And that's something I can definitely appreciate. Something I can get behind. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research just because I don't even remember the last time I used a bow skill, to be honest with you. Probably like, I want to say like the second character I made on PC, and that was years ago. Things have changed a lot since then. Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality of it. Like, I truthfully like enjoy the mechanics behind like Battle Royale, but I mean, there's things I really don't like about it too. Like, a lot of the people play the games is one of the things. The microtransactions that they have that are kind of catered towards trying to get money off of kids. I don't like that either. I just like the actual mechanics of it. Because like I stopped playing shooters for a really long time, except for like looter shooters. I still played like The Division. I played Destiny when that came out. God, I really need to play more Division 2. I was actually relatively impressed with that game. I've only played like a few hours of it, but I really liked what I did play of it. But yeah, I thought like Battle Royale was kind of cool because it's just a refreshing take on things. But then when you get anything that like millions upon millions of people are playing, it attracts all sorts of people, and you remember the bad a lot more than you remember the good when it comes to stuff like that. Like the bad, crappy people, the trolls, like they overshadow the decent people who play the game, unfortunately. That's a good goal to have. I like running lab. It's just once you have your last couple ascendancy points, I mean, you can grind for good items and stuff, but I just continue to map and do other stuff. Same, Modern Warfare 2. Like, I loved playing that game. When they did the Modern Warfare remake, I actually played quite a bit of that. Still have it installed on my PS4, actually. The biggest challenge for me in the last lab was always like how many traps he has in that last room. That's always what it would come down to. I'd get through the entire labyrinth without any issues, but then if he started teleporting me into traps, like that was always the killer. But I mean, if you get high enough level, you can just out DPS him to the point where basically if you survive that first teleport or two, you just end up killing him outright and you're fine. I remember one game that I was actually pretty disappointed didn't do better was For Honor. I played that a little bit at launch. It's not a shooter, but and that was kind of what was refreshing about it. A nice, solid melee combat game. I mean, that's pretty much it, too. You just try and overwhelm that final boss so he just doesn't have the opportunity to screw you over. On the ARPG side of things, I was actually excited to hear that the Switch is getting a really great ARPG. I found out, I think like late last week, that Torchlight 2 is coming to the Switch, so I'm gonna have another like really solid ARPG that I can play on the go. Torchlight 2 is fantastic. Another heavily Diablo-inspired game. Yeah, I was wondering where the monolith was. Ah, got out there just in time. It's just a weird place for a monolith. I don't know if I've ever seen one in the arena yet. Oh, it sure didn't have much. So hopefully this is quality over quantity. Malformation map. Screw that map. Hey, what's up, DMC? Dude, I went through the same thing with that last lab. It took me so long to finally get the trial I needed. Oh yeah, that's what it was. For Honor didn't have dedicated servers. It was peer-to-peer, so the connections to each other sucked. That's what it was at the beginning of that game. I was trying to think of like what turned me off from that game after a while, and yeah, that's actually exactly what it was the peer-to-peer connections. Like, they had some balance issues, but, I mean, any competitive game with any sort of classes always has balance issues. Hmm. Actually, I don't think I have either one of these. Oh, fresh. I think they actually have dedicated servers now, but it just took too long. It's another prime example of just not thinking things out beforehand. Ubisoft used to be notorious for that, though. They would constantly make these good games that would just have like a couple of glaring issues, and then they'd fix them down the road. I'll give them credit though. Division 2 actually was a huge step forward for them in my opinion. Like I said, I only played a few hours of it, but from what I did play, I was actually pretty impressed. I thought they did a really good job with the game. The first one kind of got killed by the fact that everyone was glitching to get top items in the beginning, and then they just troll in the dark zone. Honestly, anything that just doesn't have a lot of effects to it, like I was talking about earlier in the stream, it's kind of unfortunate that Necromancer of all classes is the one they decided to, give the big buffs to, because Necromancer is going to lag things worse than literally anything. Necromancer was the one class that I actually would see lag while playing with during Synthesis, when things actually seemed to run pretty well. I don't know. Me personally, like, I'm gonna go with a bow skill. I haven't figured out exactly which one I'm gonna go with yet, but I don't know if it'll help with the lag. But I just figure if I'm playing something that's ranged, hopefully I'll clear things before they get close enough to me for it to matter. Yeah, that's likely the direction I'm going in. I just don't know exactly what skill I want to use yet. I had to spend a few hours in Path of Building and throw something together again, like I did this league. I'm just not really all that familiar with bow skills anymore. I haven't built a character like that in literally years since I played the PC version. See, that's not too bad. 6 summons probably won't lag you up too bad. I just remember I played a Zombie Mancer build as one of my 3 characters that I built last league. And like would have the Vol skeletons and then all my zombies. And eventually, like, once I hit red maps, it was just a lag fest. Just with that character, though. Like, my Faunus build, my Volatile Dead build, never really had any issues running Volatile Dead, but it was also a ranged build. So if I did see latency, odds are I was kind of killing things on the screen before it became much of an issue. I got Starforge from a very generous donation on stream last week. Arc is a really solid lightning skill. A lot of people run Arc. And you can typically build an arc setup for pretty cheap. It's something I'm sure if you cruise the forums, you can probably find a lot of different arc builds. Yeah, I can't overstate it enough on how generous of a donation this Starforge was. He made it seem like it was nothing too. Super nice dude. SPL, I actually don't think he's in here tonight. Yeah, it's definitely been the coup de grace for this build. I didn't realize Zana was hanging out in here. That's the thing though, like, your arc build's probably fine, you're just not being killed in a very fair way. an incubator, nice. I feel like I didn't see enough incubators this league either. I actually didn't even look at my challenges much this league, to be honest. I think I had quite a few that were close. Yeah, I've only actually completed 6, but I've got like 2 of 3, 3 of 5, 5 of 6. Like I have a lot that are 9 of 10, 2 of 4, 3 of 5, 8 of... Like there's a lot that, honestly, if I focused over the next week, I could probably complete a lot of these. Just something I didn't dig too far into this league. I definitely pushed challenges a lot harder last league than this league. See, and there's nothing wrong with, like, not being the greatest at creating your own builds. It takes time. Not everyone has, like, the time that you have to put into, you know, creating a well thought out build. So I, like, early on when I started the channel, like, I would always tell people, like, don't feel pressured that you have to make your own build. Like, there's nothing wrong with using something that someone's made online. The only thing, like, I would recommend if you do that is to just try to slowly go through their build. So, like, when you add your passive skill tree points, or, like, you're trying to get similar items to what they have, just, you know, essentially take the time to evaluate what they've done and just try and figure out why they did that for the particular build, because that's going to help you understand different passives in the skill tree. It's going to help you understand different stats in the game. It'll almost help you understand more about the game than actually playing the game itself. You know, just going through someone's build, and you can copy it verbatim as long as you just, you know, try and piece together why they did what they did. And sometimes there honestly may not be anything wrong with your build. It could be, you know, one item or just a couple of nodes that you need to pick up on your passive tree, or just a few stats you need to improve on gear. You'd be surprised, like, how much little tiny tweaks will take your build from struggling to just mowing through everything. A rare abyss item. Interesting. Oh, I picked up this belt. Decent max life. Oh, my current belt does global physical damage and has decent resists. So that wouldn't currently work. The thing is, like, you could have 2,000 or like 1,000, or you could have 10,000 health and still be one-shotted if you're having bad enough connectivity issues. And yeah, items are expensive around the board in general. Scions are tricky just because of the fact that you literally start smack dab in the passive tree. So, like, you literally have the option to branch off anywhere. So with a Scion, like, you have the most freedom, but at the same time, you have to have the most focus on what you want to do early on. So if you start kind of assigning points willy-nilly, the Scion's the easiest class to do that with. There's some there's some people who will make some really good build like posts on the forums that'll actually like show some of the leveling gear that they use. I'm trying to think. I've completely spaced out on what his name is. But there's a guy whose builds I used to closely follow when I first started playing Path of Exile. Who, I mean, I essentially learned how to create my builds just from following a few of his guides. Oh, Gazzy. Gazzy's a great PC player. I think it's Ghazzy. I think he makes some YouTube content too. I'm almost positive he does. I think he primarily streams on Twitch. But if you ever check out any of his build guides on the forums, he usually includes like leveling gear in his build guides. I just, for me, I just don't have the time to create like written out build guides. Otherwise, I would. Just because I do think they're super helpful because it's just nice to have everything right in front of you. I think just with the performance of the game, you're just going to have builds that are actually decent, that you're going to struggle, you're going to die, and there's not, unfortunately, a whole lot you can do about it. Like the last stream we did when I was running Shaper at the very end, there were like 3 times where it looked like I had dodged out of his AoE attack, and he killed me with it. So, you know, I lost 3 portals based off of something that it looked like I literally hit in time, but just because of game performance, I ended up dying because of it. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, he makes some great guides on the forums. I always like to give, you know, other creators credit for the stuff that they do. And, you know, he's awesome when it comes to build guides. He's who I went to when I first started playing the game, so, you know, I would highly recommend his stuff. It's just like how Kamal and I have a really solid relationship. I don't know the dude in real life. Like, we had never met until we kind of ran into each other's YouTube channels and just show each other support, because as far as I know, we're really the only 2 Path of Exile PS4 creators out there. So, you know, rivalries between creators are stupid. There's millions and millions of people on YouTube, so if someone's doing something similar to what you're doing, you know, I say support them in their endeavor, and they'll support you, and it makes doing what you're doing a lot easier, because you got someone else who's, you know, taking that same ride you are. Shaper Slam sucks. Like everything else, he telegraphs. I mean, even the slam, he telegraphs enough in advance for you to know that like you can get out of it. But just a little bit of latency issue, and it's the difference between, you know, because it's a one shot. If it wasn't a one shot, it wouldn't matter. Like, you could take that hit, heal, and just, you know, move on with the battle. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But for good measure, let's run one more, and we'll call it a night. I was going to call it a while ago, but I always have some good conversation with you guys, so I always end up streaming a little longer than I expect to. Not a bad thing. How ballsy am I feeling? Let's Elk and Corrupt it. Tier 13. Let's make this a challenge. We haven't legitimately died at all tonight. Blue screen, which counted as a death, which is bogus, but nothing you can do about that. Oh, temporal chains. One of my least favorite mods. And I mean, that's the other reason why, like, I really hope, like, the performance continues to improve. And, like, inevitably, I think it does have to. Although I do think you're right when you talk about, patch 4.0 probably being where a lot of the issues are going to be solved. Just because, one, they've been working on it for a long time, and two, it's, their big hyped patch. But I mean, you're probably right in that regard. But the biggest reason I want to see it fixed is, not just for my own play, but just because then you're finally going to get to see some really, like, top tier play from console players. And people are going to have more confidence in their builds. People are going to start doing more creative things. I feel like people are really limited right now because they're trying to figure out why they're dying, and a lot of it may be stuff that's just out of your control. It's not that your build is bad. It's not that you're playing poorly. It's that, if you're lagging a half a second behind in a game like this, it's going to kill you. You're going to lose that 10% XP, or if you're running a difficult boss who's telegraphing that same attack and, like, you just don't have a way to time it, there's nothing you can do about it. Don't you put that blue screen juju on me. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I just try and put out straightforward content that, I just enjoy making. I think it's, I just blue screen. You did it to me. You did this, Hi-Rez. This was you. You did this to us. Oh, man. That's funny. Yeah, I may have to try and reinstall the game again. One guy brought up a really good point in one of my videos about how on PC there was a folder that would essentially hold all of your map info. So if you ran a bunch of maps, it'd actually start slowing your game down, which is potentially why the whole uninstall reinstall thing somewhat works on console. Doesn't fix everything, but it does help quite a bit. Nah, it's fine. I'm to the point in this league where I'm honestly just playing the game because even with the performance stuff, I just still enjoy playing the game. I don't have, like, a level I'm trying to reach or any specific goals I'm trying to hit. I'm really just playing to play. Yeah, Matt, that's savage. Those negative max resist modifiers are harsh. Put all those back on. I don't see a lot of rhyme or reason to a lot of my blue screens, to be honest. There was the one night on stream where I blue screen looking at an amulet. Just, I was in my hideout too, so it wasn't like the fact that being in a public area had just too many people running around or anything like that. Just sitting in my hideout, looking at the trade market, checking out amulets, blue screen. I'm going to blame it on temporal chains because I hate that modifier. So it's just one more thing for me to hate temporal chains for. And blame it 100% on temporal chains. Everything is temporal chains' fault. Oh, desync. Yeah, I mean, this map's actually kind of a perfect example of all the stuff we've been talking about lately. Like, we're running through this map, we're not really struggling, but then we blue screen, eats up some experience, we desync, which can kill you a ton of ton of the time. Knock on wood, darkness. You never know when that blue screen's gonna come get you. Yeah, 10% lowered resist it's harsh. It's just the math behind the numbers makes it so it's a lot more damage. Blue screen of realms. That would literally be the worst thing ever if blue screens deleted your character. None of us would have characters anymore. I don't even know what killed me there. I'm really confused on that one. Maybe it was her AoE attack, but like I didn't even actually see it hit me. Oh, look at that. Oh, Elva, I feel like we just saw you. Wow, that's weird. I have never seen Elva next to Elva next to Elva. That's what I'm saying. Like you can't be too hard on yourself for your build or your character, or like feel like you're doing anything wrong, because sometimes the way the game runs right now, you're just gonna die. It's Path of Exile Prepare to Die edition. There's not a single boss in Dark Souls that's as difficult as the blue screen of death in Path of Exile. Or the latency fart of death. I do not remember seeing that much stuff drop in there. Well, but I feel like we just saw one another. Okay, so I need to hit that area to the left wall. Yeah, like I want to say the random deaths are latency issues. It's basically like an attack being triggered, but you don't see it. Crap. I got stuck on that wall. That was the weirdest thing ever. That sucks because I kind of needed that one. One incursion remaining. Of course you stick me in a room that I've already been in. I'm pretty sure if I run into her in a different area, it's going to stick me in the same room too. This is going to be a disaster, by the way. Told you. I knew if I was having performance issues before I activated that monolith, that as soon as that monolith activated, I was going to die. I probably shouldn't have done it, but... That's actually, when we were playing as a group not too long ago, and I was just doing the Trials of Ascendancy, that's why I kept dying in one of them, because I kept rubber banding back into the spikes. Oh, last portal. I mean, I feel the exact same way. Like, you can, like, have negative thoughts about some of the stuff that's going on in the game and still enjoy the game. Like, that's just insane. I just died like that. I don't know, the way I see it, it's constructive criticism. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not sitting here, like, oh, the game sucks, I hate the game, never want to play this game again. Like, that's actually bashing on the game. But, saying, like, there's performance issues, there's things that don't add up, the game's fun, but it has its problems, that's totally legit. You don't have to love absolutely everything about the game to still like it. I mean, that's where I'm at. I was a little afraid to make the video that I made kind of talking about the performance issues in the game because I didn't know how that'd be received. Yeah, as a creator, I thought I may have, been committing YouTube suicide, but it actually, turned out that everyone kind of felt the same way I did, which was actually a huge relief. It's a huge weight off my shoulders, because then I could actually come out and talk about it, still play the game, still enjoy myself, but then kind of, vent about just some of the weird things that bug me about it. So it's actually really productive and really nice that it went the way they did. Yeah, I've been running most of my red maps. I'll typically just make them magic instead of rare. So I haven't been elking them lately either. I typically just elk my yellow maps now, but it was the last map of the night, so I just wanted to see if we could push the difficulty, but yeah, the performance got the better of us. No, Darkness, show no fear. You're going to rock that. You're going to hit that last Trial of Ascendancy, dominate it. You're going to get to that Uber Lab, and you're going to own it. I mean, like, I'm having performance issues with the maps, but, like, I got through Uber Lab first try. So, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do just fine. I admittedly did have a couple latency spikes in the last lab, but I was lucky enough to the point where they didn't get me killed. So, just take it slow through the traps, and once the final boss shows up, just hit him with everything you have as quickly as you can. That's probably the best advice I can give you. You do that, you're going to get through it. But yeah, from there, we'll call it a night. Thank you guys for popping in. Like I always say, I always enjoy doing this. It's always a lot of fun streaming with you guys, just chatting for a while. Like we talked about earlier tonight, Borderlands 3 just on the horizon. And I plan on doing the same thing with Borderlands 3 that we've done with Path of Exile, and having like some community play events, and basically just adding some more content to the channel. Another fun game to add to everything. So, hope you guys had a good time tonight. I'm going to try to be on this Friday. I know I haven't been on the last couple of Fridays, just a lot of family stuff going on, but everyone seems to be pretty understanding, so I definitely appreciate that too. And I will, if I'm not on Friday, I'll hopefully have another video for you guys soon, and maybe we'll actually just play a little bit of Borderlands on Friday or something too. So thanks again for stopping in, you guys. As always, I definitely appreciate it. Love doing these streams with you guys. So I hope you all have a great night, a great rest of your week, and until next time, may the RNG be with you. Always.